In the land of Gilead, before the age of kings, there lived a boy named Jephthah, a child born into rejection.
Why do they look at me like I don't belong? I didn't choose where I came from. God, do you see me?
The air was thick with whispers, a symphony of silent judgments that echoed through his childhood. The townsfolk glanced at him with sideways looks, their voices laced with disdain, not because he had erred, but because of the shadows cast by his mother's past. They judged him, their words sharp as knives, carving into his soul a message that replayed like a cruel echo. You do not belong. His brothers, the sons of another woman, wore their entitlement like a badge, their hearts hardened against him. Their laughter rang hollow as they pointed fingers, each cruel word a reminder of his outsider status. One fateful day, with disdain dripping from their lips, they proclaimed, "You shall not inherit our father's house." Their accusations chased him out like a storm, tearing apart the fragile tapestry of his youth. That moment marked the end of his childhood, as the rejection carved itself deep into him. With a heart heavy, yet resolute, Jephthah fled, not out of weakness, but from a fierce instinct for survival. He walked away from the familiar hills of his childhood, stepping into the unknown, toward the land of Tob. It was a barren place where the rejected and broken gathered, those whom society cast aside like unwanted stones. But in that desolate land, Jephthah found a strange kinship. Among the outcasts, he discovered a community that understood the weight of rejection. God, it seemed, saw value where others saw waste. In the shadows of despair, Jephthah rose like a phoenix, becoming a leader among the forgotten. His strength was not born of arrogance, but of endurance, shaped by the trials of his past. Life had sharpened him like iron on stone, molding him into something formidable. Years passed, and a storm loomed over Israel. The Ammonites marched toward Gilead, carrying the threat of destruction. Fear gripped the hearts of the people who had once cast Jephthah aside. They were frightened, desperate for a champion, a warrior bold enough to stand against the impending doom. In their hour of need, they remembered the boy they had banished and sent elders to Tob, their voices trembling with a mix of shame and hope as they reached out to him. "Come and be our leader." How bitter it must have been for Jephthah to hear those same voices pleading for his return. Yet deep within, he understood something profound. His identity did not hinge on their opinions. It was rooted in God's promise and purpose. With a heart full of resolve, he agreed to return, not as the boy they had rejected, but as the man God had shaped him to be. Standing before the king of Ammon, Jephthah did not unsheath a sword, but wielded the power of truth. He recited the history of Israel with a confidence born of faith, his words echoing through the valley of despair. Wisdom was his first weapon, and when peace was refused, he prepared for battle. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him, igniting a fire within. A rejected son had become God's chosen instrument. On the eve of the battle, Jephthah knelt in prayer, a wounded warrior laying bare his heart before the God who had never forsaken him. He vowed to honor the Lord with whatever victory came, not out of pride, but from a longing to please the only one who had embraced him from the beginning. The battle descended like a tempest, and God granted him victory. The people of Israel were saved, and Jephthah, once despised, stood tall as a deliverer, a judge among them. Yet the sweet taste of triumph was marred by sorrow. As he returned from the battlefield, his heart leaped with joy at the sight of his daughter, his only child, running toward him, her laughter a melody that filled the air. But in that moment of delight, the vow he had made pierced him with grief, striking through him like a blade. Yet his daughter, radiant with faith and courage beyond her years, comforted him. With a spirit unbroken, she spoke of trust in God, her words like balm to his wounded heart. And Jephthah, even in his heartbreak, honored God, knowing that faith and obedience transcended personal loss. For the rest of his days, Jephthah carried the weight of leadership, the sting of past rejection. In quiet moments, when he gazed into the still waters, he came to understand a profound truth. The mirror the world held up to him was always distorted, but in God's eyes, he had never been an outcast. He had always been